Good morning, everybody. I'm going to do a little bit of a flea market find segment today. This is going to be a small group of items that I picked up at the used tool store in the city. The used tool store, I think I've mentioned in the past, it's kind of a hit or miss type of thing. I usually watch the weekly video that he puts out, and I see if I could spot anything that's of interest to me and try and snag a deal. So a couple of these items here, moderate deals, and I think one or two items I think I got a really pretty good deal on. So we're going to blow through these pretty quickly, and then I'm probably going to tack on to this. I'll do a little video of some buys I made on a camping trip of all places. One of the campgrounds we went to, on the way in, there was a sign in a yard where the sign basically said that they have like a tag sale every weekend, and ended up going to this guy's house and buying a few things there. I did get a couple of tools, not machinist related. I don't think I really got anything tool wise there, but I got a couple of neat items that I got really good deals on, so we'll take a quick look at those. So let's dive right in. Oh, I just want to make a quick announcement. I know it hasn't been that long since I had the last flea market finds video, and I try not to bunch them up too much because the guys who do not like that content on this channel, try and keep them in the loop with some other stuff going on. Got to get this done because I've got some of these items already pretty much sold, and I've got a large hoard that I bought off of a retired machinist that I've got to start getting that on video and getting that done, because I got to get a lot of it online and sold to replenish my cash pool. All right, so without further ado, let's knock this out. All right, everybody, so the first item that I scored was this Starrett model 472 thread pitch gauge. This thing is pretty clean, and this is a 4 to 84 threads per inch gauge. So the 84 threads per inch, those suckers are really fine teeth. It's in really good shape, and I scored it for $10, and it's probably already sold because I just sold in the last video. I featured a Brown and Sharp version of this same thing as a complete ripoff. I don't know who made this first, but somebody ripped off somebody. Anyways, that sold right away, and I actually got somebody who was hoping that they could have gotten it, so I'll reach out to them and see if they want to stare it instead. So picked this up for $10, and it'll probably sell for $20. It's actually in pretty darn good shape. I've got one of these already. It's practically brand new in the box. It's a newer version, I think, because on the newer version, these wheels are coated with black. This actually seems like it might be made a little bit better, so I think it's an earlier one. But because the other one's almost new in the box, I'll keep that one and I'll sell this one. This is a indicator I picked up. It was in his $6 bin. He just throws a bunch of stuff in a bin for $6. And this is marked Heald for Heald Manufacturing, Heald. And Heald Manufacturing did not make indicators. This is a Federal. The dead giveaway is that it says C-81, or I'm sorry, C-21. And the C-21 was a popular series with Federal. I've had a lot of these Federal indicators that are badged with the end user's name. So, a company like Carrier Air Conditioning, for instance, is one of the ones that comes to mind. That I had one of these, was clearly marked Carrier. And so a company would have Federal sell them indicators and have their company logo or name put on the face. What's nice about this one is a tenths indicator. It's 0.0001, okay, and it appears to be working pretty good. I think it returns within a tenth every time. So maybe a cleaning and a new crystal would make this a sweet little indicator for somebody. Also in his $6 box, I found a Starrett edge finder, and then I found this on the shelf, This is a Starrett edge finder. This is a model 827A, and it's actually very clean with the original pouch, and he had $5 on it, so I put the $6 one back. I don't want to buy both of them because I just got rid of a whole bunch of these, because I've got all the ones that I need. I've got several variations of it, and I sold off a bunch of them. And it seems like whenever I buy a toolbox, there's one or two of these in there. And I just bought that big hoard I talked about that's coming. And I think there's 3 or 4 of them in there. Many of them out of the pouch. So I'm just going to double check, make sure I don't have, make sure that one of these that I have is in the pouch. If it isn't, then I'll keep the one in the pouch and I'll sell the other one. In his $2 bin, I fished out these 2 items. And it's a 829-C. So this is a Starrett small hole gauge. Okay, the number, the suffix, the letter suffix tells you the size. So they have A, B, C, D, and I think E. These are really handy. The way these work is when you turn the knurl on the back here, it actually pulls in this rod that has a cone shape on the end. So as you pull the rod this way, that cone will spread this split ball on the end. So what you do is you stick this down into the hole that you want to measure, and you tighten this until you feel a little bit of a drag, and then you pull this out, and then you measure this with your micrometer. So handy little thing to have. They have another variation of this where the ball is basically like almost like a cone, the flat bottom, and that would be for a blind hole if you want to measure the bottom of a blind hole. Either that or that's just an earlier variation of these I've seen. I don't know. But it was only $2. This would probably be a better eBay item. So this one's in pretty good shape. This business end here is in really good shape. There's some rust and light rust and corrosion in the knurling. But for $2, that's okay. You know, I could probably get a few dollars more for this. This is interesting. I snagged this. I was hoping it was Starrett. It turns out it's not. I believe it's a Lufkin. This is a Lufkin number 20. Okay. When I first spotted this, what I actually thought it was I thought it was a Starrett rod for a radius gauge set. Here's a Starrett radius gauge set. And they typically have this rod right here. If you look at these things, do they look the same? You bet they do. But what Starrett actually considered this to be used for was for holding little tiny rules. Starrett made these, Lufkin made these really tiny little rules that were like, I guess, like 1.5 inch. This is the smallest rule that I own, or scale that I own. This is a Starrett 2-inch. The idea would be you would take the handle and you would clamp it to the small rule. And now I can reach down in and take a measurement on the inside somewhere or in a tight place. So that's what that's supposed to be for. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is the exact same rod that Lufkin puts in their version of this set. Okay? Because this rod is great for clamping onto these radius gauges to reach into an area. Now, so as long as we're on the subject, so that's a good buy for $2 because I can pass that along to somebody for a few dollars. And if they have one of these radius gauge sets and it's missing one of these, they can stick this in there. And you know what? They could stick a Lufkin holder in a Starrett case, as long as they're not too concerned about genuine authenticity, right? As long as we're on the subject, yeah, another radius gauge set. I've sold several of these. They're not as hot a seller, but they do tend to sell. And I just picked up in that hoard that's coming up, I think I've got another one in there, a different brand, off-brand probably. But this is a Starrett model S167C radius gauge set. This one will go down the road because I have this set already in the original cardboard outer case even. And I do have the holder. I think the very first one of these I bought didn't have this. And then the next one I bought was complete like this. And then the next one, you know, eventually I traded up to the whole shebang. This one's been around. You can see it's really faded. Outside of the case is dirty. It's got the slight splittage starting there. The last one of these, almost the whole hinge point was completely snapped off. I paid $17.50 for this. That's a little more than I want to pay for one of these. That one's not going to sell for much more than that. But hey, c'est la vie. 3 more items here to show you guys. This first item is one of my first really good deals I got on this thing. Let me widen the shot here and get the whole thing in there. So what this is this is a Starrett number C635 metric scale. All right. The C635 series of scales is a very popular series. So you can find a lot of these. I ended up seeing this scale and thinking to myself, even if I decide I don't want to keep it, I think it was a really good deal for what I paid for it. I paid $10 for this scale. Now, if you do a quick search like on eBay of the C635s, a lot of the ones that come up are pretty cheap. And the reason why is because most of the ones that come up are C635 like 150s. And the C635 150 is a 150 millimeter. So the C635 150 is the version of this scale that's only this long. Okay? This, 450, 500. This is a C635 500. You have to dig a little deeper. There's not as many of these that come up on eBay and sell used. The C635 500 right now is still available from Starrett. It's a $94 suggested retail on this scale, believe it or not. $94 for this scale. And here's the interesting thing. I've searched high and low, and I have not been able to find one with this hook attachment on it. So somebody added this to make this a hook. Now, Starrett sells this accessory right here, this hook, for a lot of their scales. I couldn't find one for this series. So I don't know whether or not somebody drilled a hole in this thing, all right, and added this or not, or if it was bought this way. But the bigger point here is that's a hell of a good deal for that scale. And it's a little dingy, but I bet you my LA's Awesome would do an awesome job on making this clean as a whistle. Cleaned up nice. So for the time being, that's going to go in my keeper pile. I haven't decided yet whether or not I'm going to keep that. If it wasn't a metric scale, it would be a no-brainer. I definitely would be keeping it for myself. Because it's metric, I'm not that attached to it. I'm only into it for $10, so it doesn't hurt me to keep it. And the other issue is that those long, skinny scales like that, they can be a little bit of a pain to ship because you got to pack them really well in a long box, so it won't go flat rate. Actually, that might fit in a medium flat rate box, one of those skinny ones there. Anywho, I got two more items to show you. This is the item that caught my eye in the video that I wanted to make sure I got down there early so that I could snag. So what we're looking at is, this is a genuine Albrecht keyless chuck, okay, in excellent condition. All right, this is an Albrecht keyless chuck. It's 0 to 1/8 of an inch, so the maximum drill bit size you could put in here is a 1/8, and it's 0 to 3 millimeter, because of course, being German and everything, they've got to have the metric on there. So what's interesting about this chuck is the fact that it's mounted on this doohickey right here. Okay, so what this is a sensitive drilling attachment, I believe is what they call this. Well, I should stop right there, and I should preface this by saying this is not complete, unfortunately. So what this is a sensitive drilling attachment. This is actually made by the H.C. Stanley Company of Glendora, California. I was able to find this online to figure out what this was. The way this works is there's a second part, a sleeve, that's missing, that would be what would be up in your collet on your drill press or your milling machine. And what this allows you to do is this allows you to hand feed very small drill bits so that you can feel, by feel, you get a feel for how much pressure you can put on that drill bit, instead of using your arm up on your quill on your big milling machine where you've got no real feedback. You can't really feel. Well, I guess maybe some guys are really good at it, but the idea is that by being able to just hold this, and this just spins around it, you can actually have more precise control over drilling very tiny holes with these small drill chucks like this. All right. So, but unfortunately, I went online and I found a complete one. I was able to find one, and I could see that there's a sleeve that goes over this. All right. So what you've got is you've got a sleeve that probably is like a standard size to fit a collet that would be on the machine, and then it must have an ID, okay, that this little bush right here fits up inside of perfectly. So if that outer sleeve is being driven by the milling machine and spinning, how does this get driven? Well, there's a slot right here. All right. So my thinking is there's either a key on the inside of the sleeve that engages this slot, but because the slot is so short, I think it's a pin. So I think I could make the other half of this. I think all we need is a sleeve that has a precise hole drilled in it for this to fit into. And then in that sleeve, we would have to drill a hole and press a pin in that could ride in this groove. All right. So, does that sound plausible, or am I just blowing smoke? I don't know. The other possibility is we could just give up on this and take this chuck off of here, and we got a really nice little Albrecht chuck, and we can just buy one of these attachments and add it to it. Now, the reason why I jumped on this was because he had this for $20. So $20 is a hell of a deal for a an Albrecht chuck. Even, all right, I throw this all away. That right there for $20 is a really good deal. So we looked high and low. I actually inquired. I explained to him what was missing, what I was looking for, because I asked him if it came out of, he had a Kennedy toolbox there he was selling, and I suspected a lot of these pieces were just in that Kennedy box. And he had taken like any of the unidentified items and stuff like that in the box. He tends to take that stuff and he dumps it in the $6 bins or whatever. I mean, that's probably why these were in there. Anywho, we looked and we couldn't find it. So unfortunately, that sleeve has gone missing. So I had wanted one of these little precision chucks for a while, and the funny thing is, every time they came up for sale on eBay, they were pretty pricey. How often do I need to drill really, really small holes like that? Almost never. But I just wanted one so I would have it, because that's what we do as tool collectors and hoarders. It's nice when you can justify it with an actual need. But hey, why let that stop you? So the reason why this is kind of funny to me is because so then I finally just score a deal on one of these little mini Albrecht chucks after all this time. And lo and behold, what do I end up scoring at the new tool hoard that's coming? You guessed it. So we'll show that some other time. So prior to the acquisition of this is what I had for small chucks. This is a Supreme chuck, model OTO, and this goes up to 5/32 capacity. This is a Jacobs 0B, 5/32 capacity, and this is a Jacobs 0, 5/32 capacity. I don't know what the difference is between the 0 and the 0B. I assume maybe it has something to do with maybe the taper hole in the back. This one has a small Morse taper sleeve on it, so this would be good for tailstock on a very small lathe. So I really shouldn't bother with keeping this. This would be better. This would be better served in somebody else's collection. All right. Well, this isn't about chuck time, right? This is about flea market finds time. So before the reveal, just a quick story about this next piece. This next piece is something I saw at the used tool store a few weeks ago. For the first time I saw it like weeks ago. And I looked at it and I saw he had $20 on it. And I thought, that's actually pretty reasonable for what that is. And it sat there week after week and nobody bought it. And then I think this past week he had the table was at $4. Anything on this junk table in the center that he throws on there, every week it's like it starts at $6, it goes to $4, and it goes to like, I don't know, $2, and then $1, and then eventually sometimes it gets down to like 2 for 50 cents or something silly like that. This thing ended up on the $4 table. So when I saw it sitting on the $4 table, I knew that it already worked because I had checked it the first time I saw it, or at one of the points that I saw it, just out of curiosity. So I get this for $4. So what this is this is a model, this is a Dremel model 57-2. Actually, I'm sorry, it says Moto Shop on it. But right here it says Dremel Manufacturing Company. Okay? So I don't know how old this is. Moto Shop. Now, it's obvious, right? It's a saw. Okay? Big deal. The neat thing about this is, unfortunately, it doesn't have it, but on the other side, where the motor is, on here, right here, this is a shaft. And the purpose of this was for a cable-driven hand precision drill or grinder would engage this. So you would click that in there. So you guys have probably seen the, what's that other famous name? Where the motor actually hangs on a hook and it's got a cable drive and you've got a precision hand tool. So that's what's supposed to go on there. So this would be a nice piece for somebody who does a lot of small craft work and stuff like that. This would be good for cutting thin materials with precision. Currently it's tilted. Let's put it at 0 degrees just because it looks prettier that way, right? Cutting thin plastic, things like that. Boy, that spring tension's pretty tough on that thing. Jay. Oh, so here's a early owner's manual for a 57-2 moto shop, and it shows the accessories that were available at the time. Apparently there was a few different wheels that you could use on it. You could turn it into a disc sander. Of course, it was a jigsaw. And there's also a buffing wheel, a wire wheel, a grinding wheel attachment with a guard, and the flexible shaft drive with all different types of uses. It would just have a chuck on the end that you could put drill bits and things in. So that's kind of neat. How to get the most from your Dremel motor shop. My understanding from what I just read online is that this uses 3-inch pin blades, which are not as common, so you have less versatility in the types of teeth and number of teeth you can get on them. So it doesn't make this saw as versatile for fretwork and things like that. All right, let's see. You know what? Let's call this a wrap. We'll call it a wrap right here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing if you're not already a subscriber. You never know what I'm going to do next. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. Take care.